Hello everybody, welcome back. This is the Rugbyunited podcast, still as yet untitled. It's Rich Church Keen, obviously, at RichC_K. Back with episode 2, or proper episode 1, depending on how you're looking at it, because last time was a bit of a trial. It was a bit of a test run out for the podcast system that I'm using. So, back this time to talk more nonsense to you. Be about 10 minutes or so, I would imagine. Maybe 15 at a push. There will be a YouTube video coming later on. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see the links for that one. I've done it later. Will actually contain a little extra because I have a sound clip from Andrew at Rugby Ulster, which for some reason I can't upload onto Spreaker to put on the podcast. So, yeah, it's not ideal, but that's what we're doing today. First of all, then, the Six Nations was pretty good last weekend, wasn't it? The results went right for England and Wales to still have a shot. In fact, France has still got a shot as well. With the results at the weekend, Wales beating Ireland. One of the most monumental displays of defence I can remember seeing. It's very rare I will give credit to any other nation but England or Ireland, because that's the way I roll. But the Welsh were absolutely outstanding. That defence, 47 passages of play, I believe it was, and the Irish never really looked like getting over the line. It was absolutely phenomenal. If you haven't watched that game, seriously go back and watch it, because if you're a defensive rugby fan, it was a masterclass. What wasn't a masterclass was England's attack against Scotland. They just seemed absolutely clueless. There was 3 or 4 players. They were running through, and you know, every time we seemed to make a break, something went wrong. There was a forward pass or a drop ball or just a turnover, and it was absolutely terrible. I've never remember seeing an England game where you could say, well, we left 6 tries out on that pitch, and I honestly believe there were 6 chances which, on another day and another team, they would have gone over the line with it, and terrible attacking display. So I've just had a text I was reading then, so just go off on a tangent. It's very unprofessional, because I'm unprofessional. So, the France-Italy game, I think the less said about that game, the better. It was, the first half was like watching your local under-12s play, and that's probably an insult to the under-12s. The second half, I don't think Italy really turned up. France just cruised through in third gear and kept Italy scoreless. Very, very poor game. Not a good advert for rugby at all. But of course that leaves this weekend where obviously the 3 games, I can't remember which order they are. I know England is the last match and they go in with a very slight advantage on points. So they will know what they've got to do against France to win the Six Nations this year. Obviously it's no Grand Slam now. So it might or it might not be a really good day for one of 4 teams, I believe it is. France need everybody to lose. They need to beat England and hope that Ireland and Wales both get upset. England, Ireland and Wales are basically fighting out to who can get the biggest win and get that points difference sorted. It's a very exciting last day of the season. It is a shame. I think it's the 4th year in a row it will be decided on points difference. And England, of course, face the threat of being 3rd year running where they've been runners-up on points, and the costly mistakes against Scotland could prove vital. Just to not have them tries and that extra sort of 20, 30, maybe even 40 points that they should have got may cost them the tournament. But so that's happening this weekend. Of course, it's all day on Saturday. The message I've just had actually was Rugby Radio, who of course I did the commentary for the England-Ireland game, or the Ireland-England game, a few weeks ago. They're after a commentator for Saturday. I might be able to help that. I might be back on commentary, because I'm not sure that my plans are going ahead that I was supposed to be doing. I will contact them when I finished recording. So, back to where I will add in Andrew's comments, the audio clip I said he'd sent. The George Hook called Jared Payne a second-rate foreigner, which I will try and add in the sound clip in this sort of section when you get onto the YouTube video later. I'm not 100% convinced that I'm technically skilled enough to do that, but I will try. Basically, George Hook is, if you don't know, is one of the Irish pundits. I'm not sure of his background. His name doesn't ring a bell. I don't think he's any relation to James or Captain Hook. But he's quite often being criticised, I notice, on Twitter by the Irish fans. So I think he's a polarising figure anyway. But yeah, I don't think, in this day and age, you're going to get players that move country to country and represent a team that they're repatriated to. England, of course, we've got Dylan Hartley, was born in New Zealand. Corbisiero was America. Manu Samoa Tuolangi, who's obviously Samoan. Rocco de Goonies played. You got Scotland, where a lot, and Wales as well, where a lot of their players are English born but have Welsh heritage. And Ireland, they do tend to be majority of their players from Ireland. But in recent years, they have picked up players like Richard Strauss. There's one of the props whose name I forget. Was it Michael Bent, who's an Australian, who was fast-tracked into the Ireland setup? And now Jared Payne. And Jared Payne's played for Ulster for a few years now. He's dedicated himself to Ireland. He lives in Ireland. I don't think you can call him a second-rate foreigner. If you take the nationality of a country, they're going there to play international. They're going there to be a success. Against England, Henshaw and Payne were being praised to the hilt. Ireland have a lose, and of course he's second-rate foreigner. It's a very, very, very easy way to go to start insulting players. Dylan Hartley often gets, he's Kiwi. Well, he's lived in England. I keep saying, I'm very sorry. But Dylan Hartley's lived in England since he was a kid. He played England under 15s, I believe it was. He's definitely played age group rugby for England. He's come through the entire England setup. But whenever he does anything wrong, he's a Kiwi. It's Andy Murray with Britain syndrome. If he wins, he's British. If he loses, he's Scottish. It's ridiculous. In this day and age, it's going to happen. People just need to suck it up and get on with it. That's my 2 penneth. Andrew, I would try and insert the clip now, just after I say this bit. If I can't insert it now, it will go at the end of the podcast. It will be on here. And I'm very sorry that I don't have any technical expertise to fit it in now. What else is happening in rugby? Well, today is actually 6 months today when I'm recording this, the 18th of March. It's 6 months until the World Cup starts. How exciting is that? 6 months until the biggest tournament in rugby comes to these shores. You can compare the Six Nations and Super Rugby as have been happening this week. You can compare the Tri-Nations or the Quad Nations or the Four Nations, whatever it's called now. The Rugby Championship, that's the one. You can compare that to anything else. But the World Cup is where it's at. It's where the big boys come to play. It's where the Tier 2 teams come. They get some recognition. They play against the biggest sides in the world. They get a chance to develop. It's amazing. I can't wait. I really can't. 6 months today, everybody. That's good. We're looking forward to that. And of course, with it being in England, we get to go to some of the games. There's lots of things we've been pushed out this week with. The tickets again have gone back on sale on massively inflated prices again. I mean, I've paid a lot of money on tickets for the rugby. I think my dad won 2 tickets in the ballot, and I'm very grateful he's taken me to the game he won. Nobody else in my family who entered won a single ticket. I had to go into the second chance ballot. I've bought tickets to Fiji against Uruguay and Milton Keynes, and Australia against Fiji at the Millennium Stadium, and 6 tickets across them 2 games has cost me nearly £300. Now, spin it back to last November, I took my dad, my stepmum, my wife and my stepson and myself. We went to London, went down to Twickenham, we stayed in a hotel in Heathrow, and we went to watch England versus Samoa with 5 of us. And for the 5 of us to go and do that and spend 2 days down there cost less than it did to buy 6 tickets before anything else is taken into account for the World Cup games. I think that's ridiculous. Personally, most people will agree with me. We've been the normal fan has been priced out, and it's just not fair, is it? It's not right. It's not fair. I would believe it's the RFU who've been in charge of the ticket sort of. The operations to sell the tickets, and whether it's right or not, that I think they've gone for the corporate sponsorship route. it's not what it should be. It should be a chance for us guys who support rugby 365 days a year. We spend all our money going to watch club games and on replica kits and this and that and the other, and we're just being priced out of it. I mean, even talking about England and the replica kits, they're releasing, I think it's 5 kits between now and next Six Nations. This Six Nations sees the end of the kit we've got at the moment. Then there's going to be the World Cup kit will have no sponsors on it. Therefore, it will be a different kit to the one we're wearing at the moment, because it won't have a sponsor on it. So they're releasing that as a sales shirt. Then after that, they will be releasing another 2 sets of shirts, which will obviously have the sponsorship on it. And I'm sure there's a 5th shirt coming into it somewhere, where I don't know if it's not just solely for the World Cup. I don't know if we're wearing a slight variation on the shirt. But, anyway, going back, even if it's 4 shirts, it's 60 quid a pop. They're looking at 250 quid if you want to buy the home and away shirts for the next year. That's not including the one we're wearing right now. For the next 12 months, starting after this weekend, £240 for 4 shirts. Ridiculous. I think the RFU should be ashamed at their money grabbing at the moment. I understand they're the most profitable rugby union, but it's not right. It really isn't. With that and the ticket sales, I'm very anti-RFU at the moment. And I know they follow me on Twitter, so I hope somebody at the RFU listens to me on this podcast. I think you're scumbags. I think you're money grabbers. And I think you should give the sport back to us fans where it should be. I'll let you all give me a round of applause there. In fact, I've got a little sound effect that I can play here for my little rant there. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Shut up. That's really it. There's not a lot to say this week. I don't follow the Super Rugby really to go out there and review what's happened in the Super Rugby. There are podcasts around for that. It's not difficult to find if that's the thing you want to listen to. There was no League Rugby last week for me to talk about. I asked on Twitter what people wanted me to talk about. There was a few things mentioned. There was what's happening with Scotland. For me, I think Scotland are sort of painted with this plucky losers tag, and I don't think they were last weekend. I thought they were a very, very poor side. I thought England playing very poorly, won comfortably against the Scots. I don't think Vern Cotter is leading the revolution that everyone hoped. I think he's just carrying on with what everybody else has done, really. Until they sort out the Scottish youth rugby at grassroots level, it's not going to change. They need to push on and try and develop the rugby at youth level, bring in the new players, bring in new blood into the sport. It's not going to happen for them until they do that. Another thing I was asked to talk about was there was the video that's come through Rugby Pigs and Rugby Dump, 2 great sites. Go and check them out. Somebody's done a video basically showing Wayne Barnes' alleged, I'm doing the quotation marks in the air now, cheating in the Ireland-Wales game, where they're saying that he was very much on the side of the Welsh and it was done to open the tournament up for the English to have a chance to win. It's nonsense. You can edit anything down to 5 minutes. A rugby match is 80 minutes long. I mean, you want to take it to its full extent, it's 100 minutes long with all the stoppages and play that happens during stop clock and stuff like that. Wayne Barnes is inconsistent, it's infuriating, we've all talked about it, but there is no way in the world he went out and deliberately cheated in favour of the Welsh. If you're on the Rugbyunited Facebook group, which is facebook.com/Rugbyunited, there is the link to the video is on there if you want to go and see it. If not, I'm sure you can find it through Rugby Pigs or YouTube. It's nonsense. It's showing, here's where he called Ireland for being off their feet, and then look at this. And it shows, alright, the Welsh are going off their feet, but never once do they cover the ball or anything like that on it. And it's just, it's nonsense. It's a dangerous game to play if you're going to start doing videos to show every issue and every mistake that a referee makes in a game. They don't get a chance to constantly highlight everything. They do have the TMO for big decisions, but if you want the TMO at every ruck, then that's the only way it's going to happen. So yeah, we'll leave that one there because that makes me angry. It's a very very annoying thing to have a group of fans call a referee a cheat because they didn't get the result they want. You know, it's what Gloucester fans for years have been slated for doing, and there is a large section of Gloucester fans that do that. But it's not right. Another one of the messages that came through for ideas to talk on the podcast. Apparently, the PRL, which is the bods behind the Premiership Rugby, are trying to ring fence the league. They want to scrap promotion and relegation. This one I could probably do a podcast on its own. Exeter have proven that you could be promoted and be a successful side. Northampton were relegated. They've been promoted. They've won the championship. Harlequins have been relegated. They got themselves promoted. They've won themselves a championship. There is nothing wrong with promotion and relegation. The fact of the matter is, it's probably coming from pressure from the chairman. They don't want the risk of being relegated down to the championship. But you look at the top of the championship, and there's sides there like there's sides at the minute, Bristol and Worcester. I mean, their teams could come into the Premiership, and with no offence meant to London Welsh, would do better than London Welsh have this season. It's just a fact. There is some very good teams in the Championship. But what to sides like Jersey or Nottingham or sides like that, they're desperate for a push to get back to the Premiership. What's the point of their existence if they can never get out of the Championship? If you ring fence the Premiership, the next step will be regional rugby. It won't work in this country, as proved by the County Championship, it used to be the first team players when I were a lad, and now it's amateur players playing in that tournament. Regional rugby will not work in this country. For example, if you were to put a game on at Kingsholm, the Kingsholm crowd would boo the Bath players, and they'd boo the Bristol players, they'd cheer for the Gloucester players. It wouldn't be a Southwest team as is. I think it's a very, very dangerous precedent. I wouldn't support a championship. I wouldn't support a district team or a regional team. I think it's nonsense. So yeah, we'll get rid of that topic now. Yeah, basically there shouldn't be any relegation. So I mean that was really it. I got asked to do a good, the bad, and the ugly for the Six Nations. Okay, off the top of my head, it's hard to do it on audio, obviously. The good was that Welsh defence, it was amazing. The bad was England's attack, which was far from amazing. And the ugly was the entire France-Italy game. There you go, good, the bad and the ugly off the top of my head. Brilliant. So yeah, there's nothing else anyone's asked me to discuss. This will be, as I say, it will be available on a YouTube video later on. I've got something to do around lunchtime, but I will try and get it on this afternoon. And the predictions game will be on tonight, which is Matt Leddingham, who's one of the ambassadors for us for Rugbyunited. He picked last week. This week it's Matt Williams, who's a Rugbyunited follower. He's up this week. We've got a very odd couple of weeks because there's not really any domestic rugby, or very little domestic rugby. So we're pushing through with championship games and Super Rugby, which me and Dave Shute know nothing about. Apart from that, I'd just like to say congratulations to Chinner under-17s. There's a couple of people, they've always kept me updated on their son. It's the Prestons. They've always kept me updated on their son's progress from probably under-15s, I would think. And they've just got into a national final, which is fantastic. The final's the 29th of March at Cleve RFC. It's Amersham and Chiltern. Again, is it? Well, hold on a minute. I don't think it's a national final. I think it's a regional final. Excuse me. That's me getting ahead of myself. But the final's the 29th of March at Cleve RFC. It's Amersham and Chiltern versus Chinner, or Chinor. And great. Best of luck to the boys on that day. And we really hope that they get a win because, like I said, they've kept me informed on his progress for years. And really hoping that he can get a trophy. It's something I never managed to do when I was playing as a kid. I never won a winner's trophy. So, right, well, I did say this was going to be a 10-minute podcast. We're now coming up to 20 minutes. This is going to be the new format of the podcast. It will be me rambling. It will be me losing words and saying, and you know a lot. As proven by that. If anyone does want to send me a sound clip, if I can ever work out how to upload one to Spreaker, we will start doing that. I may well be doing commentary on Saturday for the France-England game. I will speak to the guys from Rugby Radio after I've put the podcast down here. But apart from that, there's nothing else left to say with 4 seconds to 20 minutes. But goodbye. Thanks for listening.
Hi there, it's me, Rugby Ulster. I just wanted to take a quick 5 minutes in the podcast, really, and I hope nobody really minds. Just have a bit of a rant back at Mr. George Hook from old RTE. Anybody that is professionally paid to commentate or provide punditry on any sporting event, doesn't matter whether it's football, rugby, cricket, does deserve a modicum of respect. However, Mr. Hook, coming off with a statement, Jared Payne is a second-rate foreign player, is neither helpful to the IRFU or rugby in general. He's not a second-rate foreign player. He is a foreign player. He's only qualified for Ireland through 3 years at Ulster. However, as Shane Horgan quite rightly points out, he's committed himself to Ireland. So why should Ireland apologise for that? Absolutely not. Doesn't matter what team you've got currently in the Six Nations, they've all got foreign players in there. As long as they put the shirt on and play week in, week out for that shirt, I don't think it really matters. Obviously, we'd like a 13 of the likes of Brian O'Driscoll to come back through the Irish setup, but currently that's not really there at the moment. Robbie Henshaw's having a great season at 12, and quite rightly should be there. However, George Hook kind of points out that Ian Madigan should be playing at 12 and maybe move Henshaw out to 13. Well, actually, that's playing Madigan out of position as well. I'm not saying that Madigan can't do it, and Madigan's more than capable to do it. And unfortunately, a player his talent's playing currently second fiddle to arguably one of the best 10s in the world, Johnny Sexton. And I'm not going to get into the debate that George Hook is coming off with anti-Ulster preferences, but it's pretty hard not to see it. Actually, if you go through the interview, the point is you have a national policy or you don't have a national policy. Madigan should be at inside centre and should be playing at number 12 week in and week out. He later then said Jared Payne is not good enough to play at 13 and it's nothing to do with nationality. So after bringing up the nationality issue, he then started to backtrack straight away. Well, that's not very good for anybody, really. So, well, I'm open for the issue. I don't care that Jared Payne is a New Zealand born. I really don't care. As long as he puts on that 13 shirt, it's always going to be a difficult fill. Anybody filling Brian O'Driscoll's shirt is always going to be difficult. The same as anybody filling in Stephen Farris's shirt at Ulster. It's going to be a very hard sell. People obviously took to Twitter. One of the funniest ones, George Hook is the Jeremy Clarkson of RTE Rugby. He just says what he wants because he'll never get away with it. I don't think there'll be many Munster fans, Leinster fans, Connacht fans or Ulster fans that will miss George Hook, if I'm honest. But there we go. Is Jared Payne to blame for the 23-16 defeat against Wales? No. Wales clicked, and when they clicked, they were very dangerous and were very well-deserved winners. So that's my rant over. I hope this hasn't upset the podcast too much, and I hope to speak to you again soon. Cheers.